Hi, Sandra here, the Misophonia therapist. And today's question is, can having a baby trigger misophonia? Now, misophonia is a condition characterized by an intense emotional or physiological response to certain sounds, often referred to as the trigger sound. And these trigger sounds can vary so much from person to person, but commonly include chewing, breathing noises, and repetitive noises. Now, the condition typically begins in late childhood or early adolescence and persists throughout adulthood. So whilst having a baby can bring about significant changes in a person's life and introduce new stresses, of course, there is no direct link, as far as we're aware, between having a baby and the development of misophonia. So misophonia is generally considered to be a neurological, possibly psychological condition that arises from an atypical brain response to certain sounds. And it's worth noting that the birth of a child can lead to increased exposure to sounds that might trigger misophonia symptoms. And babies and young children are often making noises such as crying, babbling, smacking their lips, or screaming, which could potentially exacerbate misophonia in individuals that already have the condition. And it's also worth noting that when any major life change happens, especially the arrival of a new baby, we can also experience a heightened sense of vigilance, hypervigilance in the nervous system. And this is when the survival mechanism within your brain becomes very sensitive and watchful. And this hypervigilance can create spikes in cortisol and adrenaline in the bloodstream, which are hormones connected with fight or flight, getting you to prepare and run from danger. So you might notice certain sounds more, or be tuned into the sound of your baby crying, for example. And while this isn't necessarily misophonia, it can trigger the anxiety response. Sometimes it can be pretty extreme, as I'm sure many people who have recently had babies will attest to. So if you have never experienced misophonia in your life, but it starts after you have a baby, it could be that you are experiencing this heightened level of vigilance, and it might not necessarily be misophonia. And as you become more accustomed to being a parent, as your anxiety levels start to reduce by themselves, you might notice that this hypervigilance just becomes less of a problem. So I hope that you have found this video helpful, and I will be back tomorrow with more content. Bye for now.